I think it's not necessarily when we're down. I think it's just when we're not getting stops. And we don't necessarily play the score. I think it's just when we're having to take the ball out of the basket and we don't have our transition and push and flow, figure out ways to get easier looks for one another. And, I didn't think we did a great job of that tonight. And obviously, like Stewie said, we got a lot of games left to be able to continue to improve in that area. I think that's when we break down a little bit. And so I would say this is great learning for us to just be able to understand when things aren't going well, and things are a little clunky offensively and defensively, how we can stay together. And
how unstoppable is Caitlin Clark? After a game where she dismantled the Liberty's structure, viewers are still debating just how she does it. Can you guess why both Sabrina Ionescu and Brianna Stewart labeled her as the WNBA's ultimate game changer? Think you know, watch to find out. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video.
I think we just gave her too many easy ones. Obviously, she has great range, and her ability to get her shot off is really impressive, especially with missing some games. I mean, it's not defeating. Basketball's a game that runs in the same way like we go on runs, they do as well. They're a great team. So I don't think it's defeating. I think obviously we know what a great shooter she is, and so obviously on a personal level I'm really happy to see her back out on the court, healthy, feeling good, because obviously it's important for them, but just for her, I'm happy she's back.
How do you stop someone who can pull up from a step past half court and make it look easy? That's the question the Liberty had to answer when they faced Caitlin Clark, and their plan unraveled almost immediately. The game hadn't even settled into a rhythm yet when Clark decided to set the tone. 3 logo threes in just 38 seconds. It wasn't just the crowd that was fired up. You could see the Liberty players already questioning their approach as Clark jogged back down the court, unfazed. Those early buckets didn't just put points on the board, they sent a message. She was going to stretch their defense to its breaking point.
And that's on the coaching staff. We've got to make it a little bit easier for them in that regard. But, they're switching. They were very disrupted. They were very physical, and, we've got to be a better job. Early in the game we did. I think we had about 32 points in the paint in the first half, and we didn't get as many open ones as we did in the second half. What was the other question?
Sydney Colson.
It's about
Sydney Colson. Look, we had so many breakdowns on defense. We had some great moments, and then we had some really poor moments. We just overhelped off the corners.
It's one thing to defend the three-point line, but Clark makes that line feel meaningless. The Liberty were forced to push their defense higher, switching constantly and chasing her a full 5 or 6 feet beyond the arc. But here's the problem. When you're scrambling like that, everything else starts to slip. One play in the second quarter really stood out. Clark drew 2 defenders near midcourt, effortlessly threaded a pass to her cutting teammate, and boom, an easy layup. Her presence alone made the Liberty's defensive schemes look shaky because every move she made defenders hesitate, second guessing whether to close out or stay home.
A loss is an opportunity for everyone to kind of look at themselves in the mirror and really focus and lock in on the things that we need to get better. And this is a long season, so yeah, I mean, my message to the team was to keep your heads up. I mean, we are now 10 games into the season and we have a long ways to go. But, there was a few games early on where we kind of squeaked out wins. To think that anybody's going to go undefeated throughout the entire thing is, impossible.
By halftime, Clark was 5 of 9 from 3. Even when the shots didn't fall, the Liberty couldn't relax for a second. Her spacing forced mismatches all over the floor, and her 7 assists on the night proved she wasn't just hunting her own shot. She made it impossible for the Liberty to find their rhythm. The stat sheet said the story, but her impact went deeper. It was how she made defenders constantly react instead of dictating the game themselves. After the game, even Brianna Stewart cracked a smile when asked about Clark's range. She called it ridiculous, and it's hard not to agree, but the reaction that stood out the most? Sabrina Ionescu's post-game comments, and they said a lot more about Clark's influence than any box score ever could. Sabrina Ionescu played one of the best games of her career against the Fever.
We got to the free throw line well. I think continuing to hit shots. I mean, obviously it's hard to win a game shooting 20% from the 3-point line. So we didn't shoot the ball well. Yeah, I mean, I think they switched, obviously a lot the entirety of the game, but they just plugged holes and plugged gaps and, you know, made it really difficult to get downhill and into the paint. You know, it wasn't a great game for us, but continuing to find ways to get into the paint, either for a finish or just a kick out three, is our best offense.
She dropped 34 points on 11 of 20 shooting, a stat line that solidified her as a franchise legend for the New York Liberty. This wasn't just a strong performance for her, it marked her 14th career 30-point game, breaking the team record. But even on a night where she dominated individually, it wasn't enough to overshadow Caitlin Clark's impact. And what stood out even more than Ionescu's game? Her reaction to the loss. Instead of making excuses or pointing to bad breaks, Ionescu turned the spotlight to Clark. In her post-game comments, she admitted, "I don't think it's defeating. I think, obviously we know what a great shooter Clark is. And I think we just gave her too many easy ones." It's rare to hear a player of Ionescu's caliber speak this candidly, especially after a defeat. Her tone wasn't defensive or bitter. It was straightforward and rooted in respect, and that caught everyone's attention. Coming from a competitor like Ionescu, who's built her career on a relentless drive to win. This was more than just standard post-game talk. It was an acknowledgement that something special had just happened.
We weren't able to kind of get ourselves out of that hole that we were in, but you know, now it's about the response and what we're gonna do tomorrow, what we're gonna do Monday. Yeah, I mean, I think we're resilient. I think that, you know, when things get tough, we kind of embrace that. And you know, tonight things got tough. You know, if you compare to last year, years past, sometimes like that got a little bit shaky because we would just kind of crumble a little bit. And I'm confident in us. We know who we are and how talented we are, and we know we just have to get back to work.
The Liberty didn't let up. They threw multiple defenders at Clark, switched on every screen, even pressed her out to uncomfortable distances. But Clark still found ways to punish them. Ionescu pointed out how Clark kept getting looks, even when their schemes were designed to stop her. It brought up an uncomfortable truth. Clark doesn't just outplay her matchup, she makes her teammates better in the process. Whether she's hitting logo threes or triggering defensive rotations that leave gaps for easy buckets, her influence changes the entire game. Ionescu's comments showed she saw it too. Clark isn't just a shooter or a scorer, she's shifting the way teams approach elite talent. And for the Liberty, this wasn't just one rough game, it was a reminder that they might not be as untouchable as everyone thought. Caitlin Clark didn't just snap the Liberty's 9-0 undefeated streak, she flipped the script on how dominance is defined in the WNBA. Coming off a quadriceps injury, she delivered 32 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists, dismantling the league's top team like she hadn't missed a single game. The Liberty, once untouchable, now face back-to-back games against Clark and the Fever at the Barclays Center. Can they adapt, or is this just the beginning of Clark's reign? After a performance like that, one thing's clear: if Clark can take down the Liberty, who's next on her list? We'll find out.